Hope we as students understand that everybody required opportunities to learn, grow and be a challenge to strive of excellence. Students with exceptional talent and learning potential have needs that require specific knowledge and attention. With careful nurturing and opportunities to educational gifted students have the potential to make a unique contribution to their communities and the world. Academic growth, creative potential and sometimes enthusiasm for educational success and eventual professional achievements and substantial contributions to our society are also lost. These are children who require differentiated educational program and or services behind those normally provided by the regular school program in order to release their contributions to self and society. An interesting phenomena relative to the gifted children is noteworthy. While lower ability students tend to be low in all mental abilities, high performers are not as likely to be uniformly high in all areas. Thus, Einstein, who was a great scientist, was not a playwright, nor was a Shakespeare a great scientist. Definitions. There is no single accepted definition for giftedness. Some of the more common definitions in use today can be variedly discussed. 30 years ago, giftedness was defined by one IQ score. Although it is no longer accepted today as the only measure, no doubt that it is still used by many. It is simple and not entirely without merit. If a student has a very high IQ, it is a significant indicator, indeed the single most important one, of a student's academic potential. It is not meaningless or trivial if a student score highly on an IQ test, but performance at an average or below average level academically. This needs further investigation. Giftedness in children denotes their potential for becoming critically acclaimed performers or exemplary producers of idea in spheres of activity that enhance the moral, physical, emotional, social, intellectual or aesthetic life of humanity. Giftedness in an interaction among three basic clusters of human traits. Gifted children either possess or are capable of developing these traits and applying them to an valuable area of human performance. They have an above average ability with a high level of task commitment and creativity. Gifted and talented children are identified by virtue of outstanding abilities and high performance. Children capable of high performance include those with demonstrated achievement and or potential ability in any of the areas of general intellectual ability, specific academic aptitude, creative or productive thinking, leadership ability, visual performance, arts and the ability of the children. Giftedness is the possession and use of untrained and spontaneously expressed natural abilities and at least one ability domain to a degree that places in an individual in at the last the top of 10% of age peers. Gifted and talented describe children with the ability or potential to develop significantly ahead of their peers. The key words potential. Potential isn't enough, a child needs support and guidance to achieve his or her gifted potential. Supporting and encouraging gifted children are exactly where home and school need to parent in. There are four domains representing giftedness such as intellectual, creative, social, affective and sensory motor. Gifted learners are those with high ability in one or more academic subject or those who have a practical skills in areas such as sports, music, design or creativity and performing arts. Skills and attributes such as leadership, decision making and organization may also be taken into account. Identifying giftedness. There is no formula to identify gifted students. Ultimately, teacher knowledge, insight and wisdom are even more important than the result of standardized testing. This is particularly true with students whose first language is not English, those with disabilities and those from different ethnic and cultural backgrounds. Then we have already seen a checklist, and if a child is seen having many of the characteristics in any one or more categories, then the child may be identified a gifted child. Without identification and sometimes at young age, this potential may never realized some of the source of information which can be used as part of the identification process, or such as the results of standardized test in the areas of cognitive ability. Generally, achievement and creativity teachers' observations, including encodal reports and informal assessments, this can be further discovered by various checklists and inventories, nominations by parents, peers and self for various activities, a high level of interest and task commitment in a particular areas of learning and so on. Understanding the various typical characteristics across different aspects of a gifted child help in identifying giftedness. Behavioral aspects. Gifted children's behavior differ from that of their age mates. They show incredible intensity in energy, imagination, intellectual powers, sensitivity and emotion as compared to other children. They have a passionate interest in one or more topics and would spend all available time learning more about it if possible. They can work independently at an earlier age and can concentrate for a longer period. Their interests are both widely diverse and intensity focused. They like to learn new things, examine the unusual and are highly inquisitive. Gifted children commonly learn basic skills better more quickly and with less practice. They are better able to construct and handle abstractions. They recognize and interpret nonverbal cues that other children cannot. They not do need to watch their teacher to hear what is the being said. They can operate on multiple brain channels simultaneously and process more than one task at a time. They do not take things for granted, seek to find out how and why more often. They tackle tasks and problems in a well organized, goal directed and efficient manner. They exhibit an intrinsic motivation to learn, find out or explore. They are often very persistent with a id rather to do it myself attitude. Many gifted children learn to read early with a better comprehension. Gifted children often read widely, quickly and intensely and have a large vocabularies. They are hyperactive. They are usually respond and relate well to parents, teachers and other adults. They may prefer the company of older children and adults to that of their peers. Learning characteristics. We can also analyze gifted child with few common learning characteristics. They show keen observation and they have an eye for important details. They learn at a much faster pace and process material to a much greater depth. They read a great deal on their own, performing books, magazines meant for older children. Such children often take great pleasure in intellectual activity. These kinds have well developed powers of abstraction, conceptualization and synthesis. Few more characteristics of such kids are they readily see cause-effect relationships. They display a questioning attitude and seek information for its own sake. They are often spectacle, critical and evaluative. They are quick to spot inconsistency. They also have a large information basis about a variety of topics which they can recall quickly. They have a strong memory, making review unnecessary. They quickly perceive similarities, differences and anomalies. They readily grasp core concepts, making valid generalization about events, people, objects. They deal with complicated material by storing it out and analyzing it systematically. Creative characteristics. Creative abilities of gifted children set them apart from other children of their age. They are fluent, flexible thinkers who are able to generate possibilities consequences, or related ideas. They are originally thinkers seeking new, unusual, or unconventional associations and combinations. They can also see a relationship among seemingly unrelated objects, ideas, or facts. They are elaborate thinkers producing new steps, ideas, responses to a basic idea. Gifted children are willing to entertain complexity and seems to thrive on problem solving. They are good guessers and can readily construct hypotheses or what if questions. They are often aware of their own impulsiveness and irrationality and show emotional sensitivity. They are extremely curious about objects, ideas, situations, or events. They often display intellectual playfulness and like to fantasize and imagine. They can be a less intellectually inhibited than their peer and in expressing opinions and ideas. They often disagree spiritedly with others' statements. They are sensitive to beauty and are attracted to aesthetic values. There are many qualities that may characterize gifted learners, but key factors are two, which can be classified in preconsciousness and intensity. Preconsciousness is too simple put gifted students learn more quickly than their peers. Intensity is a quality which may be seen in both the emotional and cognitive realms. Gifted students are apart to display these intensities in areas such as psychomotor, energetic physical activity, and have a difficulty unwinding at bedtime. Sensual, a great sensitivity to input from all five senses including aesthetic awareness. Imagination, viewed detailed imagination, thinks in pictures, strong reactions to dreams. Intellectual, loves academic challenges, learning new things, intensely curious. Emotional, responds to virtually all emotions in an intensive manner, which can also make one susceptible to a depression. Categories of giftedness, observable students' characteristics. It is important to define the categories of giftedness observable student characteristic as it comes in many forms. Often, some forms of obvious giftedness get more attention and others get ignored or go unnoticed. This should be avoided. General intellectual ability. This is the unusual clever child and tends to be a cut to average. This type of giftedness is not confined only to academic achievement in school. Typically, characteristics are those discussed above as learning characteristics. Specific academic aptitude. This refers to a natural inclination and exclinations in a particular area, science, math, language, social science, etc. Often a child gifted within this category, although may show a special inclination to a one subject, will be a good in everything else. Leadership ability. Abilities demonstrated by this type of giftedness can be reviewed as capacity to carry out responsibility well, capacity to demonstrate self-confidence and so on. They are well liked by classmates. Leadership abilities help the kid to express ideas well, adapt readily to a new situation, enjoy being around other people, but they tend to dominate others. Preference to participate in most social activities in school and excellent athletic activities in also a part of this. Visual and performing arts ability. Abilities demonstrated by this type of giftedness also can be classified into many segments. Visual, kids with visual arts ability enjoys art activities. They can display interest in other students' artwork, will also elaborate on idea forms the other people and try variety of media and will have a criticism of their own work. Music. When kids have music as their performing arts ability, they tend to be a sustained interest in music and will readily remember melodies, would display a keen awarenesses and identification of variety of sounds heard at a given moment and will be able to perceive fine discrimination in musical tune and will play a musical instrument with interest. Drama. Kids with drama as their performing arts ability will prefer to volunteer themselves to participate in classroom skits and plays. They will also have the potential to tell story or render accounts of expressions. They can use appropriate gesture and formal expressions to communicate feelings and thoughts. They will also handle body with ease and posing and can hold the attention of group when speaking. Very shortly, they can also create original plays or play from stories. Kinesthetic ability. Abilities demonstrated by this type of giftedness can be discussed. Kids with kinesthetic ability will demonstrate good control of body movements as excellent eye-hand coordination, manipulate object and puzzles with ease. They also complete complex maze and word searches with ease and will learn new gross motor activities readily. They also have a good sense of rhythm as well as will excel in athletic activities. What can be done by school? Schools have a responsibility to meet the educational needs of all their pupils. For pupils considered to be a gifted and talented, this includes providing a greater challenges in lessons and perhaps also further opportunities for pupils to develop their gifts or talents outside of the normal timetable. School must show these children that they are valued, giving them opportunities, academic challenge and also a chance to be together to feel less isolated. 4 level of activity may be considered. Level 1 activities intended for all students should incorporate some activity to challenge even the most gifted. These include thinking skills training, independent projects and exploratory activities. Level 2 many students must be motivated to participate in academic competitions, clubs, performing and visual arts. Level 3 some students may be taken up for advanced classes, individual training and participation in special programs. Level 4 the few students identified as gifted need to be given a personal professional mentorship. There could be a structured acceleration program for gifted. We need to consider the qualities such as the emotional needs of gifted students, their need for peer interaction, organization of the curriculum to include higher level skills and concepts. They also should be given an attention so that the subject matter organized according to a structure and or them. Diversity of teaching strategies and learning experiences are to be implemented, as they are far more added in social and emotional maturity. The student should not have a serious adjustment difficulties. Overall health of the child frequently ill health is likely to result in missing school, which may place too much stress even on a high gifted student. Technology and the gifted computer technology, and of course the interest is now an integral part of education. As a powerful tool for enrichment, this has opened unprecedented opportunities. Some specific use for highly capable students of this age includes electronic monitorship or electronic communications between mentor and student and online courses, which continue to grow in number and availability. There is also an overwhelming amount of information available. Discreet and intelligent use will go a long way in this path. Emails and chat facility bring like-minded people together. As we have disadvantages in everything, the flip side of this is it was concluded after often perpetrators of computer crimes have been both young and gifted. There is much on the internet that at worst it is dangerous and at the best is a waste of time. Not all valuable or necessary information is on the internet. Libraries, travel, personal experiences and positive human interactions are still valuable sources of learning. Although human communication can be enhanced through electronic communication, it cannot replace the real thing. Gifted children with special needs. Years ago, people did not associate giftedness with disabilities. At first glance, the concept appear contradictory. However, they are not mutually exclusive, although particularly any disability can co-occur with giftedness. Three of the most common ones will be addressed below. Some children need to be understood as twice exceptional: one, because they are gifted, and two, because they have a mental disorder. Learning disabilities and giftedness. Students with learning disabilities are characterized by overall average or above average intelligence, but a discrepancy area of academic performance. The incidence of learning disabilities in the gifted population is at last in high as the general population. For example, a student may be outstanding in math and science, but average or below average in language related subject, or vice versa. Occasionally, student may be strong in all but just one isolated area, for example, writing. In years past, no doubt some of these students left school feeling frustrated, discouraged, and sometimes angry. Even with our current knowledge, they are not easily identified and tend to fall into one of the categories. Those who are not identified as having a learning disabilities but are recognized as gifted. In this case, giftedness hides the learning disability, and sometimes these students tend to be dropouts. Those who are identified as having a learning disability but are not seen as gifted. The learning disability may be so severe or in a critical academic area such as reading that it hides whatever gifts the students may possess. These children tend to get frustrated. Sometimes a psychoeducational assessment may be necessary to understand an individual profile, strengths and corresponding weaknesses. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder and giftedness. The hallmark of ADHD is both impulse control and hyperactivity. It is quite possible to have a quiet and compliant student go through a school without giftedness being identified. Asperger syndrome. Asperger syndrome is one of a number of conditions that fall under the umbrella of autism spectrum disorder. People with Asperger syndrome often have above average ability, but have some degrees of the social deficits that characterize autism. Gifted children with AS often show verbal fluency, superior memory, early fascinate with letters and numbers, and fascinate enthusiasm for a particular topic of study that are also seen in normal gifted students. Despite these similarities, the autistic like qualities of the behavior can be used to diagnose as early intervention is important because it is enable the child to get the help needed to develop social skills. Without this intervention, students with Asperger's are very likely to be the victim of bullying. This may result in their giftedness being compromised and their lives getting quite miserable. Savants. Savant syndrome is a condition in which person with serious mental disabilities, including autistic disorder, demonstrate profound and prognosis capacities or ability for in excess of what would be considered normal. They score very low on IQ test while demonstrating exceptional skills or brilliance in specific areas such as rapid calculation, art, memory or musical ability. People with Savant syndrome may have a neurodevelopmental disorder, notably autism spectrum disorder or brain injuries. 50% of Savant have autism, the other 50% have some other forms of central nervous system injuries or diseases. Savant skills are usually found in one or more of 5 major areas: art, musical abilities, calendar calculation, mathematics and spatial skills. Such children are outside the scope of normal school and must be referred to a specialist in special education. Conclusion. All students require opportunities to learn, grow and be a challenge to strive for excellence. With careful nurturing and opportunity education, gifted students have the potential to make a unique contribution to their communities and the world. Without this, the price we and they pay is lost academic growth, lost creative potential and lost enthusiasm for educational success and professional achievements and contributions to society. While lower ability students tend to be low in all mental abilities, high performers are not as likely to be uniformly high in all areas. Thus, Einstein, while a great mathematician, was not a playwright, nor was Shakespeare a great scientist. Gifted and talented children are children who are identified as those who, by virtue of outstanding ability, are capable for high performance. Gifted children either possess or capable for developing above average abilities, high level of task commitment and high level of creativity and applying them to an valuable area of human performance. Potential isn't enough, a child needs to support and guidance to achieve his or her gifted potential. There are four domains representing giftedness: intellectual, creative, socio-affective and sensory motor. Gifted children may be identified through their typical behavior characteristics, learning characteristics and creative characteristics. There are many qualities that may characterize gifted learners, but two are key factors: preconsciousness and intensity. Giftedness may be categorized as giftedness in intellectual ability, specific academic ability, leadership ability, ability in performing art and kinesthetic ability. There is no formula to identify gifted students. Ultimately, teacher knowledge, insight and wisdom are important. Without identification and sometimes at a young age, this potential may never be realized. Schools must show these children that they are valued, giving them an opportunity, academic challenge and also opportunities to develop their particular areas of giftedness. As a powerful tool for enrichment, the computer has opened unprotected opportunities for the honing of giftedness. Some children need to be understood as twice exceptional: one, because they are gifted and two, because they have a mental disorder. They should be trained for the specific disorder and stimulationally be encouraged in their giftedness. Thank you.